Today we got podcast legend in the making.
Podcast legend, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.
Right.
We got Clyde on the show. Clyde from Relentless Diaries. What's popping with you, bro? How you doing?
Yo, I always thought Drake, as like a business entity, moves like America moves as a country.
Break that down. What do you mean by that? What do you think about DEI?
Zoe Tresor and Mucho, part of the reason that podcast is successful is because they have this bag of being able to just one of the biggest podcasters in the world,
You know
and you
what I'm
review
saying?
someone else. Now it's their content, and you get striked for it.
Yeah, man.
But that's big. Like, to me, Joe Budden is kind of like, you know, the epicenter for, like, you know, black podcasts and the culture and everything. And he was reviewing one of your shows, and like, I was saying off mic here that you had a legendary podcast. Like, I think for years to come, where people are going to be talking about and quoting that episode. You know, how does that feel for you?
How does that feel for me? Honestly, it felt like I bet big and won. You know, honestly, I've moved so far past it now that I can't even think about that anymore because it's gonna be relishing the past too much. Because I was in the moment, bro. I was enjoying it. I was off to the side texting Isaac. Shout out to Isaac. Like, yo, we did it, bro. This is amazing. After it, I was like, all right, let's keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like where my mindset is. He's like, all right, it's done. We got it done. You know, move past it.
You had your hit song, and I'm like, back to the studio.
Exactly.
Let's make the next record.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. Like, a lot of people do relish and hang on to things.
Yeah, I try not to. Because even like when I had somebody like reply to one of the episodes, so then I posted that and posted his reply to it. People were like, yo, you're using Dr. Umar now. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to be that guy that's like staying in it and trying to like leverage it past its prime to, you know, squeeze more juice out of it. I'm like, all right, this is the lemon is all the way done, you know? So
you did that very, very well too. Squeezing the lemon, you know, getting every bit out of it without it being like too much. It was like, okay, bro, we get it. Like, I never got that vibe. Like, you know, us as Potters, like, it was some legendary stuff, man.
Salute, man, salute. All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Hustle Over Everything. I'm Alex, your host and owner of the show. Today we got podcast legend in the making.
Podcast legend, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.
Right.
Most definitely. You know, we have different facets of the podcast. You have the business side, and we have the culture side. Today we're on the culture side, and we're gonna talk about everything going on in culture. You know, have a walk hard episode and get into it, bro. So you got Clyde on the show. Clyde from Relentless Diaries. What's popping with you, bro? How you doing?
What's going on? I'm good, fam. I'm really happy to be here too. You know, like I said, pod is life. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, should be doing Relentless Diaries. I got a few other podcasts I do, and just been seeing what you've been doing and everything too. And it's just I'm happy to finally be here, you know?
Salute, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, yes, it certainly has.
Let me tell you where we are actually. We are in Wit Media Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first episode.
Which studio?
In Wit Media Studios. You know what I'm saying? This is a long time coming. For a Potter to have his own studio, it's a long time coming.
For a black man to have his own.
You know what I'm saying?
The name is on it.
My name's on the door. So yeah, this is a long time coming. I'm very thankful and blessed to be in a situation like this. But this is for other Potters as well. So if you're a podcaster that wants to record their own podcast, feel free to swing my DMs or hit up witmedia.ca and book a time for yourself.
Cause it's nice in here, man. Like,
yeah,
I'm real comfy. Yeah, Fed coming in and everything, like the facility, like and I've been in, you know, different podcast studios and stuff like that, and like what you've got going on here, you're delivering an experience truly, you know. So it's like, you know, all the Potters. This is the place to be. This is something else.
Salute. But I gotta you know, humble myself because this is in Oshawa. You know what I'm saying? So
that's true.
This is for the creators in the East Side. If you're coming from downtown to Oshawa, I rate you, but I'll keep it a buck. You know, for Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, you know,
East End
people for sure. The more subscribers we get, the better the guests get. So please hit subscribe and support this Black-owned independent podcast. All right, see you in the show. Like, are you listening to Kendrick right now? Do you find like you have to pick a side between the two of them?
Do I have to pick a side? I mean, like, I feel exactly kind of how you feel. I feel a little conflicted. I kind of feel because I'm a fan of great music. I'm a fan of great artistry, and both of those are kind of the guys for artistry
Sure.
and everything. The culture. We're having culture talks, right? Um, obviously, me being a biracial guy from Toronto, you know, that is also a Scorpio. It's kind of you know,
Yeah, by proxy, you're just like, I gotta go with my guy. I gotta go with my kind.
and like even we talk about it a lot on like the podcast I do on Relentless Diaries, and like I think they nicknamed us the Aubrey Avengers, the OVO Avengers and stuff,
Okay.
because you know I can give credit where credit's due. Kendrick is amazing. He's great. He does deserve what he's getting, but like 10 toes.
The way LA and California came together behind Kendrick put us to shame.
Yeah, yeah. It was embarrassing. Like,
was
why can't we
embarrassed.
do that?
Why are we coming together?
hmm
We have a whole country behind this man, damn near. So it's like,
Well, like, there's also a notion that people say about when it comes to Drake that they say like he gets more love in America than he does here. Because I kind of feel like those types of conversations are very prevalent here. There's always somebody that knew Drake when he didn't have a beard, and you know he didn't say hi to your sister when he used your basement studio or something. So now it's like all that hate, you know. And I people also say like about the Toronto mentality about people just not, you know, kind of getting on each other and it not being a community where we're bigging each other up and we're like, you know, providing that space for each other. So I don't know. It kind of seems like, yeah, it puts us to shame. It's like, why can't we have a why can't we have a scene like that, like Atlanta or LA, where these it's like a melting pot of these guys lifting each other up. And I also think that like as podcasters, it's almost important on our end too, because we're like the media, you know? So it's like we do play a role in that.
facts.
And it's why it's also like picking a side kind of feels weird because I want to be able to discuss things. Like I want to be able to have, and I feel like there's a lot of people that pick a side and then they kind of make that their thing. Like it's very lucrative to be on Kendrick's side right now. I think you know, that streaming breakdown and people that got whitelisted for reacting to things on YouTube and everything like that.
They made a bag off that.
Yeah. So it's
So then do you think Drake's lawsuit has credibility?
I think it has credibility, but I think it's tough, especially when I seen a statistic that Thank Me Later just re-entered the Billboard Top 200. And I seen somebody quote tweet that and they were saying how like, you know, it really damages the claims that you're trying to make about this song Not Like Us, damaging your reputation and money earning when like you're the number one streamed artist still every month and your first album that was released in 2010 is still on Billboard and things like that. And it's like, how much did this damage your reputation? Which is what I think too. It's kind of like this is a moment. People get are a slave to the moment, you know? And Kendrick, a guy that comes outdoors twice every 7 years, after this tour, after this Super Bowl performance, and he goes back into hiding, and Drake drops Party Next Door, you know, that album and everything like that. Like, I think it's interesting that it's people say he like lost and he's still the number one topic for media and culture people, right? What what are you gonna if you want him to go away, you want him to be done, you want to be able to say the Drake reign is finished, but what are you gonna talk about when he's gone? Because I don't see you talking about anything else, you know? Joey Badass was just, you know, inserting himself in the whole mix and everything too. Everybody's talking about the Drake lawsuit instead of that. Like, because I like that. I like the competitive spirit of hip hop and people getting at each other. Joey Badass, one of my favorite rappers before. And it's just like, I don't know. I would, it's interesting to see how it will play out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people picking a side. And it's like, when dust settles, I don't think he's going to get Ja ruled. I don't think it's going to kind of be this thing where it's like he goes away. He's sustained and solidified where he is.
He has too many hits to be Ja ruled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only people who might give him a challenge is the LA crowd because of their loyalty to Kendrick. But I do think he has both like 80% of the US still. Because the Caucasian folks who are, I call them the Mazda crowd.
The monster.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
The Mazda crowd is still going to mess with Drake through and through, go to the concerts, pay for everything. So I still think he has that. He still has his Virginia Black. He still has OVO. He still has so much other things.
He's got to deal with Disney right now. I'm pretty sure. Like
He has to deal with Disney?
I seen something he was doing with like Tim Burton. There's like like he's got deals in the works. I should because I'm not 100% sure, but I remember OVO posted something about they're doing with a Tim Burton movie that's on Disney. I also think like I feel like the relationship that Drake has with like his listeners, especially like Americans too, is interesting. I feel like he serves this purpose where it's like, okay, this guy, this nerd I used to beat up in high school makes tracks now, and it's like, all right, we rock with you, but like don't get too big for your bridges. Remember, I could still, and
Yeah.
Drake is who he is now. He's almost a damn near billionaire. He's been running, been the biggest hip hop artist for 15 years. So he really be talking how he feels, right? Like, I am better than I am, arms and legs above all of you. And I think that really bothers some people. It's like, no, you're supposed to be the nerd I shove in a locker. You sing some songs about women that I like and relate to. Stay like that. You keep, what did Kendrick say in Euphoria? Keep making me dance, waving my hands. You gonna be all right. I feel like there's a very collective feeling about that when it comes to Drake. And when he steps over those lines, when he starts to get tough and, get on his bullshit and everything, I think that really rubs people the wrong way,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Rubbing people the wrong way is the exact thing. And even though he's rubbing the people the wrong way, Chris Brown is getting rubbed the wrong way like crazy right now.
He's been getting rubbed the wrong way since 2009.
Facts. And it's sad because honestly, like, at what point do we move on as a society? You know what I feel, bro? I feel like Chris Brown never got publicly lashed.
He never got publicly lashed?
Lashed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know.
Chris Brown didn't?
Chris Brown
did not get publicly lashed?
Let me break it down.
Yeah, let's go.
Let me land. Because you remember when Justin Bieber was wilding out with Lil Twist?
Yes. Was peeing in buckets and racing Ferraris up and down the streets of LA.
And doing all types of randomness, right? But then we had the roast of Justin Bieber, right?
Okay.
And that was like the public shame from Game of Thrones.
He held it. Yeah.
And he held it. And it felt like as a society, we all were like, all right,
you took your beating.
Took your beatings.
Yeah.
It felt like Chris Brown never really got his real beating. So everyone just held it over him.
Yeah.
And has been holding it over him for the last
interesting. Yeah.
20 years.
You know what I think a part of that is too? I think his redemption was a lot louder than his lashings. Because I'll never forget that BET Awards Michael Jackson tribute. You know what I mean? I'll never like. I'm trying to think. There's a comedian that has I think it's Gerard Carmichael, where he's like, he asked the audience, he goes, "Do you guys remember when you forgave Chris Brown?" Because I remember exactly. I was in a Foot Locker and "Excuse Me, Miss" was on the screen over there, and I seen it and went, "Oh, we all make mistakes," And it's just like I think some of that's talented. It's able for people to forgive him.
Yeah.
And just when you talk about taking your beatings, I think that's with the Kendrick thing. People want Drake to be like, I lost. I'm out here.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's not. He's still moving full force.
He's moving full force. And I think his last release, Fighting Irish, was his first like.
It was an unofficial release though.
Yeah. But that was his first public admittance of the lashings.
Yeah. All my bros brought tickets and everything. Yeah. You could tell it was upsetting him.
Exactly. I feel like people wanted him to finally take his lashings. Be like, all right, admit it, and we can all collectively move on. Almost like it feels like because he's been on top for so long, people wanted to give him some kind of lash to bring him down to his humbleness, and then be like, oh yeah, we can love Drake again.
Do you think that's right? Do you think people should be humbled? Like, do you think there are people in that scenario that should have that moment?
I feel like as a society, we love you, hate you, like the Kanye line,
yeah.
Then you love you again. And I think that's the thing, is because he's been winning for so long that eventually it's just like, it's so unrelatable. It's so far removed from regular life.
Yeah, what you originally knew, what you came to like him for. Yeah.
Exactly. So now it's like, all right, come with the commoners, come join us.
Come ride the TTC with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not just in that one song with Baka in the back.
Yeah. No. You gotta really,
pay
your $350.
Exactly. Then we'll accept you again.
That's an interesting thing, how we want celebrities to be humbled.
Yeah, I think you know what it is because he's so in the spotlight, showing us so often. Like the weekend, on the other hand, we don't really care because we don't know him. He's so far removed.
Enigma mystery, is like a big
Yeah.
thing. Guys like The Weeknd and Kendrick lean on, and Drake makes it a very big point to not be like, I'm outside, I live this rapper life. Like the next hot person, I'm doing a song with them. Like I'm really out here doing this,
Yeah.
and I don't have to, because I do think that is a bit of a thing that does heavy lifting for some artists, the mystery, But I don't know, I like that too. Everybody wants him to be gone, so.
Everyone wants to be gone, but he's in Blackboy Max's stream watching the young dudes do what they're doing. You know.
Is what I'm saying, and I'll try not to harp on it too much. If he goes gone, y'all gotta stop talking about him then, because I feel like if he did just do what you want, like disappeared, I'm still gonna have to hear about Drake every day on these Budden, bro. Like, I remember when he dropped that the first episode that got him like really viral, talking about views. I listened to that all the way up to wherever he drove. The whole rant that he was on Adderall going on about views, and it's like still to this day your biggest moments, like, as podcasters, we know you eat when that's going on.
Episode that was on Drake. Like Drake is the Dr. Umar of cultural media. No, my apologies. Drake is Trump of cultural media.
Bro, I like that you. I always thought Drake as like a business entity moves like America moves as a country.
Break that down. What do you mean by that?
Like he's very like sees things and like attaches himself to it, and then he kind of gets the reputation for being the person that like birthed that.
Like Hawaii, like how Trump's looking at Greenland right now.
Yeah, like you get to be like, like they point at things and it's like that's because of me, and like it just kind of that association thing, and just like I don't know, a bit of the bully tactics and everything like that. When you're number one, when you are the biggest, when you have the most money or something like that, you're able to move and talk in a way that all these other rappers or countries can't. Or at least if they did, it wouldn't resonate. It wouldn't be, because I think that like matters in music, at least, when somebody says they're the best and there's things that can validate that, or when a dude like drill, like hood rappers and everything like that. If there's some sort of evidence attached to what they're rapping about to you, so they're about that life, it means more. I think authenticity is like the most important thing when it comes to that, right? That's why people get mad at him, because he's like, oh, he thinks he's tough, and it's like, I don't know if he thinks he's tough. I think he's just a billionaire and can get things done if he needs to.
Yeah, honestly.
But
let's move off of Drake.
Yeah.
Let's get into your story, bro. Then we're gonna get into Trump a little bit. So, when did you and Zoe get together to start Relentless, or was she doing Relentless first? Like, talk to us about the origin stories of Relentless.
So with Relentless Diaries, I used to. I'll say before Zoe or anything like that, I was doing like my own podcast called the Sunday's Best Culture Podcast.
Okay.
And it was just based off a clothing line that I started, and I was like trying to do it myself. And I had Tresor actually as like one of my first big guests, and I was doing it myself. I was really passionate about like, being able to like host and do all the editing. Like, I felt like certain artists or rappers that make their own beats and like record themselves. Yeah, like I kind of had like that vibe going on where I was like, I do everything for myself, And it started when I went to school at Ryerson. I think it's called TMU now. Whatever.
Yeah.
But and it was on my school's radio station, and I would like be essentially interviewing somebody, doing like a live switcher with cameras and like the audio at the same time, and I enjoyed it. I like digging deep on like a guest that has like, something that whether it's an artist or, someone that puts out content, and like diving deep in that. But I hated the idea that like I would do this and like nobody would see it. Like the viewership was very low, and I wanted to do things that made an impact. So that kind of made me a little stagnant with my own podcast. And I stopped doing that for a little bit. And I worked at a restaurant. I worked at Cactus Club.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I saw a lot of crazy things. I worked there during the championship run.
Which location?
The downtown one.
Okay.
And I would, saw a lot of crazy things. When we won the championship, Kawhi was with me, and Kawhi had a rapport and everything. So I'd see like a lot of, and I feel like, that would motivate me a lot. Zoe comes in one night, with all her friends, and I met Zoe, and I followed her on Instagram and realized I think I was following her on Twitter already. Cause she's just wild on Twitter and was like, I feel like even back then
Shout
she
out to
was,
Zoe. She be letting her fly. Shout out to Zoe.
yeah, shout out to Zoe. She'd be letting the chopper sing and like, on Twitter with her opinions and is
Yeah.
like, 10 toes down on so shout out to Zoe. But I remember following her on Twitter, then meeting her, and then I think it was around pandemic and everybody's indoors. And I personally like really liked that first season of Pandemic, because it felt like everybody was on the same level. I
Yeah.
knew Drake was in his house too, so I was like, we are all dealing with the same thing right now. We're all on the same level. It felt like the only time in my life where I was on the same level as people with millions of dollars to do this,
That's it.
And I was bored. I didn't have I think I spent a whole bunch of money on podcast equipment, and I put like foam up on my wall and stuff, not knowing what I'm gonna do. Like I got it looks nice and everything, and then I think 2020. Zoe posted a really long video to her story talking about the George Floyd situation, and spoke really well about it. And I remember thinking when I saw that video of her talking that like, oh, this girl should have a podcast. Like she's good at articulating things with substance or whatever. And I think she tweeted that like a few days later or something that like I should start a podcast. I don't even really know what it is, but like I shouldn't. I DM'd her and I was just kind of like, I was bored. I had set up all this podcast stuff and everything. I was kind of like, look, I want to make like podcasts. Like I want things that are dope that impact people, So I hit her up and was like, look, I can help produce this. I can do the audio and the video. I don't need to be on. I don't need to talk or anything like that, but just you do your thing and I could do that. And I think it would be a really good show. She came over once, like not even really like I think we made like a logo or whatever. We went back and forth about it a little
She
bit.
just came over the crib.
No. She like came over with like a guest, like one of her friends or whatever. Knew what she wanted to talk about. I had it all set up, ready to go. Like we organized and coordinated for a bit.
Gotcha.
Came up with the name and everything and what the logo would look like. And she was just kind of like, I'm just gonna talk. Like I'm just gonna,
Yeah. I'm so curious how Relentless Diaries came up as a name.
I don't exactly know either. I remember working with her for a long time about it, like, okay, how is this gonna go or whatever. And I thought she was gonna call it something completely different. And then I was like, so I think she was associated with like a different brand or something like that, or I saw her posting for it or something, and I thought that was gonna be an extension of that. I was like, so is this gonna be the so and so podcast? She's like, no, I'm calling it Relentless Diaries, like off the top of her head like that. And I was kind of like, okay, that's a hell of a name, but like, all right. And I think it very much resonates with the type of person she is. Like, She wrote the bio, and I think it starts as like, I'm a relentless young Black woman, and that it started with like, George Floyd, those things that were very sensitive and heavy, dear to our hearts. And like I said, she gets on there and lets the chopper sing, and really gets at people and really things that bother her, whatever. She's like, very 10 toes about those things. And I think in the first 7 or 8 episodes, we had like Marlon and Mucho and Flaza Couture, Sasha, Hurapacha. Like these different creators came on our show that were like, I remember when I was doing my radio show or whatever at Ryerson, I would email Marlon like once a week, about try to get him on my show, and he never replied.
Yeah.
And I think it was the 7th or 6th episode that we had Marlon on, and like you've had him on here before, legend, podcast legend, right?
For sure.
So I remember thinking that like the pace and the trajectory of how things were going, and it was good. Ended up working at this YouTube channel before they were famous, so had a little bit more access to equipment and studio space. Season 2, I became a co-host, and then it kind of just, we would record every week, or it started bi-weekly and then it became like a weekly thing. Tresor eventually, got brought on as a host. He was a guest one episode and it went really well. And it was kind of like, you can't buy rapport,
Can't buy it, yeah.
It's not, it takes years and whatever to develop. So if it's something that is instant, it's like you lean into that, right?
Yeah.
So I think, that was season 3 where he joined.
Yeah.
And
I love how you guys did like the rollout of Tresor. That was dope.
I appreciate that you remember that, bro, because that was a minute ago with the.
I'm a student of the game. Come on.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, because I feel like we don't talk about it anymore. Like even with the pod, like I talked to Zoe about it. She like forgot. Like when did we do that again? And I was like, yo, with the Jersey side, we basically did when we announced Tresor as one of our co-hosts, we did like a fake press conference, like in sports where they announce contract signings, like in players. And I think that's like a big theme for us, like on Relentless Diaries. There's a
Yeah,
lot of basketball adjacent.
for sure.
That's also who I am as a human being. I see things in basketball
Basketball analogy,
analogies,
same.
in rap analogies as well. Because as a kid, that was just, rap, hip hop, basketball, NBA, like
That's life.
those are the things, right?
Yeah,
So that was kind of the point A to B on that. Did it for, I think we're in our 6th season now.
yeah.
Last season at the top of 24, we had Mucho, who was a reoccurring guest, and like people just kept commenting like Mucho is the great. Like you guys got to keep having Mucho on, and he kind of just kept coming, and then we were just like this works,
This works, yeah.
And Mucho we added as a 4th co-host, so it's me, Tresor, Zoe, and we also got like our cameraman Trey. He's also got a mic now too. So and I think things like that, like I said, I think of things in sports analogies, like I kind of feel like it's like a basketball team or something like that. Everybody's got roles and positions and like, things that they have to fulfill on the podcast. Zoe, the A mic, she's the franchise player, she's got to score 30 points a game. She's got to take 20 shots a game. And I like thinking about it this way because it's like you have different roles and you may have people that have different strengths. Like me, I'm a potter. I could yap. Like I could talk. I'm passionate about things. Can I do that every single week? Like, am I gonna have 30 points to drop every single week? I don't know, but I could feel like
Yeah.
you got role players on basketball, right? Like you got players that aren't gonna score 30 every night, but they're glue guys. They cover the best player on the other team. They're pick and roll defense. They anchor the defense and things like that. So it's kind of like, people like me and Trey, like our cameraman, you got to kind of find roles. And I think that's what makes things successful when like, I think people have lots of egos, right? And like
For sure.
Tresor, Mucho, very big influencers, right? In their own right before Relentless Diaries. And I just think that we're people that are able, that we don't get outside of ourselves too much. Like we know that Zoe is the host of the podcast, and that's kind of the dynamic, this black woman that is taking the lead with 3 other dudes in the room, like that is loud dudes with abrasive presences and stuff like that. So it's like a very specific dynamic, and I feel like that's, I don't know what appeals to people, but it's pod is life, man. Pod is life.
I love it. I love it.
Pod is life. I started with my own, doing Relentless now. The job that I do, I produce like 3-4 other podcasts. So between like, Relentless, I'm producing, editing, and co-hosting on 3 other shows.
Wow.
One of them's like a plastic surgeon show. The other one's like a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
The other's like a marketing one. So it's like I'm very much every day, my eyes open, it's podcasting.
So now, what makes a good podcast? That with all the experience you've had, because we both heavy in the game. I'm curious to pick your brain a little bit in terms of like what makes quality versus a shitty episode.
Well, like so you said off camera and I said again, you can't buy rapport, you can't buy chemistry. I think, and like, I'm sure a lot of people approach you about advice because or they want to start a podcast and you've been successful at it, so they ask you. People always ask me, like, I'm starting a podcast, should I do this, or this, or like, what should I do? How should I be thinking about it or approaching it? And I always tell people, if you don't fucking love this, if you don't just wake up like thinking about podcasting, if you're not just always thinking about interviewing people and how something like how this would translate or something like that, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't it's not the type of thing, because this is also something that bothers me too, because there's been such a big podcasting boom. And there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of celebrities and entrepreneurs that it's kind of just an alternative stream of revenue, There's a lot of celebrities that know they have an audience and that they could easily just, streamline that to
A podcast.
yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that have done that successfully, but I also think there's a lot of people that it's almost like exploitation, because they don't care about this. They don't want to talk to people. They just know it's kind of a stream of revenue, and that is the worst type of podcast.
Yeah.
If your heart is not in it, you're not passionate about what you're doing. I think the NBA players do a lot. There's a lot of NBA players that are starting their own podcasts. Not all of them are Jeff Teague.
Not at all.
There's a lot of these guys that
Barnes.
are just doing it because a manager or a marketing team told them to do it. It's like, certain celebrities, they dabble in music or something like that, and it's kind of like, if your heart's not in it, it's not gonna be lit.
You know what I feel like it is? I don't think Jeff Teague is waking up thinking about podcasting like that though. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a difference. I think if you're not passionate about storytelling, that makes a big difference.
I think
Because
that's
Jeff
what it is.
Teague, I think, is another person who's I'm happy you brought him up. He's an amazing storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
So once he gets going, he's going. Another, you know, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Mon Shumpert hasn't blown up in podcasting the way he.
Isn't he on Mello's podcast?
Not
6 p.m. in New York. He's not a regular.
I don't think he's a regular. On
I thought he was a co-host. My bad.
He has A Man Amongst Men on
Okay.
Undisputed Network.
Okay.
But the way his stories with Kobe and LeBron are so legendary that you feel like you want to tune into every episode. But I feel like he might not have as much of a passion for storytelling as much, even though he has the talent. You know?
Yeah, it's also like formatting too, right? Because I think, like, I'm thinking about that. Iman Shumpert's is a great storyteller.
What?
He was on he had the
Jump ball.
yeah, exactly. And the stories about Kobe and LeBron, like I can hear them. I word for word. He was on though like a reality TV show, right? With his with Tiana Taylor, right?
Yeah,
when he was married to her. I kind of feel like he's a good storyteller. Just maybe podcasting isn't his weekly like medium.
I think he needs an A mic. You know, I'm not sure if
roles, bro.
Roles. You know, he needs someone to pass him the ball.
He needs a good point guard.
He needs a good point guard and has someone to pass him the ball and just let him go. You know,
because he's not a point guard pod wise.
He's not a point guard.
He might be a shooting guard. Give him the ball and he'll light him up.
He's going crazy.
But someone needs to facilitate the offense.
Bring the ball up the court for him. And then let him just go.
You know what's funny about that? Like we do this on the pod. Like we talk about, our podcast basketball adjacent equivalents. You know, and like someone, one of our listeners said that I'm like the Draymond Green of like my podcast. And then there was a bunch of people that were saying that's kind of low-key disrespectful to me.
Nah.
And I was kind of like, yo, first of all, I hear what you're saying that like, Draymond be having a stat line of like 6 points, 4 rebounds, and like 6 assists. And so it doesn't look like whatever. But if you know ball, if you watch the Warriors, like, that Steph dribbles the ball up the floor and then passes it to fucking Draymond and he facilitates the offense. Like, he holds things down. He's an enforcer, There's different things that he's doing. They don't win 4 championships without no Draymond Green.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
But lots of people want to be Steph.
Mm-hmm. I'd say you're a combination of Draymond and a little bit of Andrew Wiggins to throw in there
Draymond
too.
and Andrew Wiggins.
Because
I appreciate that, including the athleticism still.
Yeah, no, because you're on camera doing things as well, hitting accents to add to the show. So people might not understand what that adds, like what points those add to the game.
They 1000% don't, bro. It's funny. Someone commented on one of our podcasts recently saying that I'm still in the G League of storytelling because Zoe, Tresor, and Mucho, like, and I say this, I'm gonna go crazy with the basketball analogies. Like podcasting, it's like a sport, right? Yeah. Like in basketball, there's things you need to be good at. There's fundamentals, right? Like you need to be able to dribble, shoot, and like run up and down the fucking floor. You need to have stamina, right? There's players that have better strengths than others. And Zoe, Tresor, and Mucho, part of the reason that podcast is successful is because they have this bag of being able to just funny, clippable story that I can get off in 5 to 10 minutes and everyone's going to enjoy and it doesn't drag on. They can do that, no problem. And I'm kind of not really the guy, like, you ask me a story attached to some sort of topic, like, yo, can you give me an anecdote, like, from your life, that's attached to that? I struggle more so with that. And I said, like, I'm kind of like Shaq with free throws when it comes to that, People have their different strengths. And you said, some people don't really understand, like, even what they're seeing and how they're receiving things. This is like, he was standing there and didn't shoot the ball, but if he wasn't standing over there, he created a whole bunch of attention and caused the double team, basketball jargon or whatever. But it's
exactly. like you're setting a lot of picks, you're setting like a lot of passes.
There's a lot of things that don't get recorded in the box stats in the box sheet, that win championships.
For sure,
so,
bro.
I'll try and show the basketball analogies, but that's how I view it.
Speaking of win, though, bro, Trump just got into office. Well, yo, how do you think Trump's gonna affect Canada?
I hope not by how he's saying he's going to affect
By
us.
making us a 51st state.
Yo, like Trump has got to be one of the best marketers of all time, man. If not the best. The way he knows just how to appeal and say the thing that's going to get the people he needs to get on his side is amazing. Cuz at first and a lot of the time I don't really take him seriously, you know? I think he knows the right thing to say. I think he's great at that. He just did a podcast tour during his presidential campaign, you know? And I think that was part of the reason he won. He's able to just appeal to the right people. I don't think this 25% tax is going through.
Why not?
That's a big fucking deal. I also like I'm not the tax guy and understanding how like numbers and everything like that work. I feel like he knows that this is what his audience wants to like. I think it's funny, like, oh, Trudeau, the governor of Canada or whatever. I don't think it'll get to that point. I think he needs to say, I think he knows he's riling up the right crowd by saying something like this. But I like giving us a 25% tax on everything.
On Canadian exports, I could see it happening. I can see it. And the fact
because I'm also not as familiar. Can you break down like why that is like realistic or something like that? Like why you think it's a realistic scenario?
Because unfortunately, they could probably produce what we give them. The reality is that we were giving to them on a discount because we're neighbors.
Those oil and gas
oil,
things?
steel. So we produce a lot of oil for America, a lot of steel for America, a lot of lumber for America, because we have it in access at a cheaper rate. So because our labor is cheaper, they get to save that dollar. So as one hand washes the other on that aspect. So that's where they get like a big win. But if they want to keep it internally, they could pay those extra dollars and continue to have more internal growth. The thing is that because of the trading, there's like a debt that the U.S. has to Canada. So Trump is like, how can I take that debt away? In layman's terms, you know. So that's what's going on. So he's like, all right, we don't want to pay this debt. What do we do now? But what's happening, honestly, bro, I feel like Trump is the worst marketer for people who he's against. For people who he's for, he's a great marketer. But because he's coming at us saying 51st state, it's a smack in the face.
It is, yeah, it's disrespect.
It's disrespectful as hell, because you're saying our provinces don't mean anything. You're saying our customs don't mean anything.
Come join us. Like, it's not even, you're not
talking to us at all. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's really bothering. Because you know what's funny? I feel like if Trump had actually taken the time to understand Canadian customs and say, hey, you guys have 70 cents to our dollar. You guys are freezing. You guys don't have proper, you need a passport everywhere you go. Come talk to us about this.
You said if you talk to us nice, it would be a little different?
It would be a whole different conversation.
I think so.
Think about this, right? Because if
we're Canadians, we're nice. Yeah, that's how you gotta talk to.
You gotta talk to us nice. If you talk to us with disrespect, we'll go to hell. Like never. Like, oh, I'll die.
You know why that White House is white? We'll go to hell.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Exactly, man. So I think that's like one of the worst things he's done. If he had said, hey, we want to make 63 states. And said, we want to include all of Canada.
And make it would be provinces all different states?
Exactly. It would be a different conversation. It would be a whole different conversation. And just because he's stupid like that, people aren't even taking him seriously. And people will go to bat for that.
Yeah, they absolutely will. I'm kind of like, I feel like he could convince those people against him, though. Because I see, like, the narratives around this, like, oh, if we become the 51st state and, like, if we just give in to them, does that make, we've got some very dire issues, it feels like, in Canada right now. Maybe not dire is a dramatic word to say, but just, like, our housing in, 70 cents on the dollar, the jobs and everything. I've seen a few, threads online about how if we were to be the 51st state or something like that and just join them, like that kind of opens the doors for that. Like there will be more jobs. There would be more. It would make it so that more houses can be built, because that's like the issue, right? We have more people than we have houses. I don't see. This is another thing too. I'm not with like numbers and like how like economy works. Is that true? Can that even be possible?
If America was to absorb Canada, we would have it would be a monumental thing.
Hmm.
A lot of changes would happen. Firstly, there would be an influx of people coming up because there would be cheaper rent all over
There'd
the
be an influx of people coming here.
coming here. Yeah.
And I
I,
seen I seen narratives about the opposite.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that. 'Cause it'd be like a two-way move. But then it'd be the biggest brain drain of of the century. There'd be a huge people going to like think about this. No passport going to Texas. No passport going to Florida. No passport going to Hawaii. No passport going to Puerto Rico. Brain drain. We're gone. We are moving.
Yeah, I heard it because, like, the type of situation that we have right now in Canada, that's kind of a sensitive thing for most Canadians, is that, we have an influx of people coming in right now,
Yeah.
and it dilutes jobs and
Real
some
estate.
say culture, all these different things that it,
Yeah.
impacts and makes it harder for Canadians to get. If we get absorbed by America, I kind of feel like there's a bit of a mass exodus. There's a lot of people, we can go to America with no pass. I don't need, all right, let's go. And then they're in the situation that we're in,
Yeah.
that all these people coming in, looking for jobs and housing, taking it all up, making, like, lowering kind of the value of it.
One of the biggest things that I think Canadians care about is healthcare. That's the big thing because
Mhm.
of what we get versus what they get. Like right now, America's healthcare system is completely torn to
An
shreds.
ambulance ride is the rest of your life.
Exactly. So I think that is where a lot of Canadians are like, absolutely not. If America was to fix that, which they're not
Mm.
anytime soon,
Yeah, and they're proud of that.
yeah, they're like, oh, our healthcare system's horrible. Huh? Just don't die.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
get sick.
yeah.
As long as you
I
don't
got
get
it on
sick,
me.
you're good. Word, exactly. And I think that's like the big thing that scares almost all Canadians. I feel like
No healthcare.
healthcare system, if you could keep our healthcare system and get access to America, I think that would probably solve everything. So
That's Trump's plan.
what Kevin O'Leary's saying, you ever heard what Kevin O'Leary's proposing?
No, not
So
exactly.
what Kevin O'Leary's proposing is to create a UN type of situation where we have like a new dollar, we have a new type of passport, so we have access to America, and then they'd have access to our resources.
But that doesn't make us American.
No,
Okay,
exactly. So it's kind of like, yeah,
sounds good. Like to hear more?
exactly. So
Yeah,
so that's kind of it, man. But Trump's doing a lot of craziness right now.
he's doing a lot of craziness, and so are the people around him.
What do you think about DEI?
Um, I kind of think I think there's a lot of people that are heavily relying on that for their reason for why things are not going the way they want it to. I
Mm,
think there's a lot of people that are upset about things that are very real. And they're kind of like, well, DEI is the reason why, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that too. I don't know if I'm as well advanced to like give, I don't know, there's just statistics and everything about this, but I kind of think I think people are making it a bigger deal than it like actually is.
mm.
It feels regressive, the perspective on DEI right now. But I also think like you and your boy had a pretty intense
Yeah,
conversation
Randy,
about
yeah.
DEI before we got on mic, and he said something about it because he's very against DEI from what I was getting from that conversation. But he did say something that I did like, that I do believe in myself, that like, you know, there's this phrase that men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. And I feel like when people use statistics and numbers and percentages to prove a point, like usually that's the point that they already had. Like that's how you feel and like what you think already, you know? So I kind of think when people say, 30% of this needs to be like this, like I don't think that's I agree with that's not really the way you solve things. But then again, solving things sounds very grandiose when you think about the reason why we have DEI.
In the first place.
Yeah, like I don't know if you solve racism exactly, right? Like it's an equity thing, right? Like so I think there's a yeah, I think people really want to get rid of it, and I I think they're a little. I think the energy is a little misplaced.
Yeah, I think it's become way too politicized, but of
Yes.
course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I really think that DEI was to solve bad hiring practices, right? And it was on that mission. I think it maybe got a little steered off by people getting jobs and getting sliding in off of race alone, because there's people that were getting in the door through that
Quotas.
alone, through the quotas, right? But the reality is all right, how do we hire the quality people that are not getting hired? Because to this day, there's still biases in hiring, right? So this was a possible solution to it. All right, is this working or is it not? Let's audit it and see what's working. If this is not working, all right, let's create a new way of doing that.
Yeah.
But if there's no new way, then you're saying we're just gonna regress to let the people.
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
just because this is kind of evolved to a place where it isn't as productive as it used to be, doesn't mean we just go back to the 50s.
Exactly.
You
Let's
know?
just let her fly. It's like, what? So then, okay, man, you know what tripped me out? I was like, man, the other day, Martin Luther King's daughter responds to Sexy Red, right? That's how close we are in history. Like, people...
Yo, yo, for real.
Like,
why am I seeing Sexy Red and Bernice King argue on Twitter?
On Twitter. So, like, when you
We're in
think
a funny
about...
place in history. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's a really crazy point. Sorry.
That's how close we are in history. So to think that we're so far removed that there's no need for any kind of systemic way to assure that the racists in the country, the daughters of the people who were spraying Martin Luther King, are going to be impacting job hiring.
Like one generation.
One generation
like,
it's not that far. You know, like, so that's what all right, we need to figure out how to put those people at bay and still have room for growth for the people who are underserved.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I think there's been some monumental DEI examples that are really hurting the efforts of that.
Yeah.
You guys, you and your boy were arguing about well, actually, I don't know if you were necessarily, but he made the point of that we've had a black president.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, the fucking biggest DEI hire I've ever seen in my entire life was goddamn Obama, bro.
You think so?
Like,
whoa, big statement. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm being a little dramatic saying the biggest ever, but I do think that it was like a very much, yo, here, bro, like, fine. You want your, here, nigga, damn. You want your black president here?
Really?
But I also, because, like, not say DEI, that it means, like, you know, somebody was kind of put in because I think, you know, Obama is qualified.
Yeah.
I think he's very qualified, and I think a lot of the people that get into positions because of DEI or affirmative action or efforts like that, like, you're not there, you don't get there by not being qualified. Technically, you're actually like the cream of the crop when it comes to black people to even have like that type of opportunity. If they're only allowing 10 spots for black people or something, and it's, you know, it lands on you, you got to be the best out of who you're coming out of, right? So it's not that I don't think people are not qualified, like someone like Obama. I think there's a lot of emotion that gets attached to it. There's a lot of people that think back to that and how much they had to hear about it, and they think back to 2020 and how much they had to hear about George Floyd, and that, like, they don't want another couple of years of that, you know?
Fact.
And it's also, conservatism's fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's the wave. That's what's cool for kids and stuff.
It has taken over the internet.
Yeah, bro.
I think Elon Musk is conservative. Zucks is all of a sudden conservative.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Seeing an inauguration where Elon, Zuckerberg, Jeff, like all these really important people are there. So, oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And even what he did with TikTok too, like, bro.
Best marketer of all time, bro.
That was pure marketing.
It's like, yo, when you bring it back, you're going to say, thanks to President Trump.
Exactly, word. Yo, I actually do think Facebook or somebody bought TikTok.
You think it's already been bought?
I think it has.
I think that deal has already been in place.
I think so.
You might be right. That would make sense. That would check out. I can see that.
I think, like, one of the things I wanted to do, I didn't get a chance to before the episode. I want to check the terms of service, because if they updated it, they have to include the.
Do you read the terms of service?
I know. I control F it. Control F it all the time.
Yeah.
That's my hack. If there's no
keyword
email
it,
in the company,
yeah.
well, this is one hack for the business ones out there. If you're trying to find a person in the company, one hack you can do is go to the service agreement or the privacy policy and hit @ and an email usually comes up, and you can
That's a
find
good
out
idea.
what
Wow.
email they're using. Then you can guess the name of the company owner next to the email and get in touch with the person.
Yeah, that's
But
a great hack. Shit.
yeah,
One more thing, like about like the whole like just the circus.
yeah, what's going on there?
I guess I was talking about this on Tuesday on my pod, but like I said, there's a lot of this. It's kind of like a circus to me. It's fun. It's like it's hard for me to take serious, but you know, it's getting a little closer to home, quite
Mhm.
literally.
Mhm.
You see what Elon did at the inauguration?
The hail.
I thought that was crazy, bro. Like, especially that he did it, and it was kind of like I'm seeing a lot of the pundits that are in support of him and Trump, like, what, we can't touch our shoulders and then talk with our hands like out like this and everything, like wow, you're really gonna normalize this and make it like okay. That's illegal to do in
And
quite a few countries, you
yeah,
know, like there's a lot of history attached. You know, we know what that is. I thought that was wild. I thought that was a big step, but I also see how they're gonna play it off. Like I
what's
can see it not being a big deal moving forward.
and what's crazy is honestly what's crazy isn't for me the fact that he did it, was the reaction to it, the benefit of the doubt,
Oh man,
the benefit of that. Kyrie retweeted something. Kyrie retweeted, and it was a firestorm. And he actually did a hail sign, and it was like, oh, don't even worry about it. This is give him a benefit of the doubt. He was in
scapegoat.
Israel. It's all right. It's all good.
I
That's craziness.
I said on my show that a lot of people are giving him the benefit of the doubt because there's like the notion that Elon has Asperger's and he's autistic, and people are kind of saying he didn't understand the social cues of doing something like that. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. He builds rockets. I think he knows what he was doing.
Builds rockets and Tesla and Twitter at the same time. So, but he can't talk to people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You don't know what I'm not even gonna like. It's crazy the gesture, but like I don't know, that was very interesting and kind of like that was the first thing that made me go, oh shit, this is
What's crazy too was that like they didn't even try to reprimand him either, saying, "Oh no, he's wrong. Make him apologize." Nothing like that. No, 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 he's okay. It showed a clear class difference because they wanted Kyrie to apologize. They wanted Kanye to apologize.
they want
Well,
Kyrie to
actually,
pay half a mil.
let me leave Kanye out of this because Kanye
He was wild.
Kanye was wild. Sorry, Kanye is out of this. Yeah, completely.
Kyrie retweeted a video. Yeah,
Yeah,
an
exactly.
Amazon link.
An Amazon link. Insanity.
And there's an organization, the Anti-Defamation League,
Yep, the ADL.
the ADL, who
Mhm.
is like when they see something they don't like, they
Yeah.
nip that in the butt. They make sure that they know that it wasn't okay. Like,
Do you remember when he was on Breakfast Club? The owner of the ADL or the founder or whoever's in charge of the ADL was on Breakfast. He was on
I don't
Breakfast
think
Club
so.
once. I'll never forget that. He was talking about people and he had a Freudian slip where he was like, "Yeah, I saw it and I knew I had to get him." And I was like, "Had to get him? Huh?
Interesting.
Very interesting, sir."
Because I do and I do think something like the ADL is necessary. Like when you think about Jewish people and their history, like that is mandatory for people that have been treated like that in history. But
I
it's
agree.
like when you see a paragraph explaining why Elon's gesture was okay. Well, like, you know, he maybe didn't mean it like this and everything. And then, you know, for Kyrie, there's, you know, he's got to pay $500,000. He needs to apologize. Like, is jarring and is difficult to wrap your head around.
Facts, bro. Facts. And then next thing you know, on the same week, bro, we're seeing Nelly and Snoop performing for Trump.
Brian, how do you feel about that?
All right, so I think there's a little bit of nuance to it
Mm-hmm.
because from what it looked like they had been hired for a corporate event
Yes.
because they're in crypto, Trump's in crypto, and I can talk about Trump and crypto in a second too because that was insanity. Um, but I think at the end of the day, it is wrong, but for Snoop's ethos. Because last year or 4 years ago, he was saying whoever dancing,
Fuck whoever's performing at the.
they're a coon, they're a sambo, all those things.
Did he use those words?
I believe he used at least Coon. I'm not sure about
If
Sambo.
Snoop said Sambo, that'd be crazy.
Sambo's crazy. Sambo's historic. You're like,
yeah, there's a lot of gravity attached to that.
Yeah. So
But I do remember when I remember 2016 and 2020. Like, yeah, we were shitting on all the people doing that.
exactly.
Now
So
he's him.
Now he's him. But I think it really shows a testament to how America has changed in regards to Trump for a good amount of people. There's a
Fact.
good swath
Yeah.
of black people who are like, you know what? I'm rocking with Trump, either low key or high key, you know? So I think that's what that was a testament to. And I think he might have been in a bad predicament where he was looking at it as a corporate event for crypto. He's big on crypto and was like, oh, this is more of that versus that. But yeah, and also it's a bag thing. Like,
Yeah, I think
if
for Nelly especially, it was probably a bag thing.
for sure. I Soulja Boy too. So
Soulja Boy was there.
Soulja Boy's there too. Yeah,
He's got tax problems. We know it's a bag issue for him.
Who has tax problems?
I think so. Actually, yeah. Don't quote me on that. I've heard. I've seen headlines about him.
Rumblings?
Money issues. Yeah.
True. But man, you should saw some more Soulja game.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think man, I've talked about marketing so much this podcast. When we talk about people that can sell anything, I think there's we got Shaq, we got Kevin Hart, and we got Snoop.
Yep.
And I think it's time for a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation about Unc. Like, he attaches himself. He's able to sell anything, you know? And I kind of feel like he's at a point where he's, like, got that number, you know? Like, he gets it no matter who is going to work with him. And it's kind of like, whatever to him. And it's like, nah, bro, like, I remember you were very 10 toes on Trump when this happened, you know? And I do think it's not a good... It's not a good look, but I also wonder how much this would really affect Snoop's bag. I think it's good for him, if anything.
Yeah.
He could do more. He could dabble. He could dip his toe in and out of the right, the left, the culture, the white conservative culture, and like, you know, the alt-right or maybe not the alt-right, but just conservatives.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting.
But you know what though?
He's an amoeba.
On a more psychological level, when they buy Snoop, when they buy a Rick Ross, when they buy Soulja Boy and book them for these...
I don't like you talking about black people getting bought.
That's
why, sorry, I stepped on it.
You got exactly where I was going.
It's not a nice connotation. I don't like it.
Exactly. I said bought on purpose.
Yeah, as soon as you said it. yeah.
Things different, don't it?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of our greats being bought, you know? I don't like the idea of black people being for sale.
Because of what
everything they say, everything has its price.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of like lets you know that there's a price that you can pay on cultural relevancy. You know, I'm not sure if that was the goal necessarily, or if they were just trying to get. That's the thing. Are they trying to get performers for a corporate event, or are they trying to have the top black artists perform at an inauguration?
I high key think it's that. I high key
You know what I'm saying?
they want to be able to like look at the left and be like, bro, we got your heroes over here. I mean, they fuck with us way more than they fuck with. What are you talking about?
And that's the difference.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And so it's not necessarily
it's the flex.
It's the flex of
they like me way more than they like you.
Exactly, bro.
And that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. So I think it kind of rings true to that our culture is for sale. And that's, I think, what rings a little bit different versus just them showing up, you know? So, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough, bro. But
it is tough, but...
Yeah. Especially with the crypto going on, what Trump did too, bro.
I'm less tapped in when it comes to crypto stuff.
Bro, all right. So this is what Trump did. So, we good? So, Trump created a Trump coin.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, did he rug pull?
Let me get there.
Say, oh my bad.
So you remember what Hawk Tua did?
Yes.
Hawk Tua spit on that thing, right? Pause. She launched a coin, the rug pulled it, got the money and bounced, and it said, "Talk to my lawyer." Basically.
Yeah.
Trump created a coin, and it went crazy. Rug pulled it. Melania created a coin.
Oh, she had a coin too?
Melania had a coin too.
I didn't know that. I knew there was a Trump coin, but not,
He did it twice for the family. You know what I'm saying?
Family business. It's a family business.
Family business. She had a coin too. I'm not sure if that one was rug pulled yet or not, but I could bet you it's probably rug.
So like people, so like the concept of that is essentially there's a coin, people buy into it. There's a lot of money that gets invested, and then people are expecting that at some point that's going to be worth more than what they put in, and they're kind of playing a long term on that. And I guess Trump, Hawk, two of these people understand that. I'm just like
for the audience,
and essentially once it's all bought in, and there's there's a certain amount of money that's been put into it, they kind of just go, I'm kidding.
Yeah, they say I'm kidding and pull that money out. And
how come you're able to do that?
Because
why is that not? Why isn't there like a perp walk of Hawk Tua right now?
Because it's not regulated.
Okay, that's because it's crypto.
Exactly. And that's the thing.
Sorry, there's probably crypto listeners.
Right now, it's crypto. I'm not
putting me on game.
Either. I'm not a crypto expert. I'm just talking from the small points I know as well. And what's sad is that this is the person that's going to be regulating crypto. It's not like Hawk Tua is a regular girl from Southern America.
15 minutes.
You know?
Same, yeah.
This is the president that's doing this. What the heck is going to happen in the next 4 years?
Should have invested in Bitcoin in 2020.
I did a little bit.
I did it. I remember thinking, I remember telling people too, we should invest in Bitcoin.
Yo, I'll never forget, bro, let me tell you, 2017, I got caught wind of Bitcoin because I was working in a suit store.
Okay.
And
that seems like the place they would be discussing crypto, the futures of it.
You know, and I remember a time someone bought a pizza with Bitcoin. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. And I'm in marketing too. Mm-hmm. And what was happening is that Bitcoin was trending on Google. So anybody that added "we accept Bitcoin" to their business was getting an influx of search traffic to their company.
That SEO value. Wow.
Exactly. Okay. So I was like, man, if I convince this store to accept Bitcoin and maybe take a few for myself, it would be dope. And I pitched it, and he never accepted it.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, imagine if he accepted it. He would be laughing right now.
He'd be on the right side of history. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, but, hey, it is what it is. Honestly, yeah, when I was on Friday's episode, shout out to Friday and We Love Hip Hop, he asked me about what he thinks crypto's gonna do, and honestly, bro, I think it's just gonna continue to go crazy.
Do you think it'll become the primary source of currency?
Never.
Or anywhere?
I think you might be able to exchange it for tender for some countries. I think some countries maybe will turn to. I think one country might. I think was it Ecuador. I think that might have used it for legal tender. But I think some people will do it. But I don't think it'll ever replace the dollar or anything like that. I don't think that'll ever happen. So yeah, that's
an interesting scenario.
Yeah, because once we get into that, then a whole other sweep of laws need to be set in place. It's a whole new bureaucracy.
And the point is that it's not regulated, right?
That's the whole point.
So yeah, it's a bit of the Wild Wild West thing. It's a necessary thing. I think.
Yeah.
It reminds me of 50 Cent when he put out his album, and one of the only ways you could pay for it was with Bitcoin. Or something like that, and he just had an influx of Bitcoin. That was, I would like to Google because there is specific metrics about this. And he's gone into before I self-destruct. He allowed people to purchase it via Bitcoin, and this I think was in 2009. So it was hella down, and he came up off of it. I would like to know the specific figures off of it.
Yeah, let me look this up real quick. 50 Cent Bitcoin album. Let's see. I think it was Animal Ambition.
Okay, yeah, Animal Ambition, not Before I Self-Destruct.
This is from Finance Yahoo. He was driven by a desire to stay with the times mentioned in this CNBC interview. At the time, it was said that 50 Cent had received nearly 700 Bitcoin, placing its value at more than 400,000 by 2018. Bitcoin's value had reportedly surged, and the Bitcoin was worth between 10,000 to 12,000 per coin. Damn.
50's always on the right side of history, man.
I wonder if he sold that, or if he kept it. No wonder he's smiling so much.
I feel like I remember when Bitcoin went up, he was kind of gloating about it. It was just kind of see, I always knew.
Yeah, and then there was an athlete that took their salary in Bitcoin as well.
Who did?
An athlete.
OBJ did.
OBJ?
I swear OBJ took his salary.
No, it was
when he played for the Rams. I'm pretty sure.
Football player takes salary in Bitcoin. It was.
Was it OBJ?
No, it was someone on the. Yeah, it was OBJ. Yeah, Beckham. Yeah, who played for the Los Angeles Rams at the time. I plays for Miami Dolphins. Made the move at a time when many athletes first started publicly touting crypto and other digital assets. Yep, it was OBJ. You're right. Good for you, bro. Yeah.
He's always on the wrong side of history.
I mean, you can still get in it at the right time.
yeah, you can. You absolutely
Yeah,
can.
yeah. Do you invest in stocks, bro?
Nah, bro, this is it's a bag I need to get into.
Nothing, none at all.
No, I understand market trends like to an extent, you know, like I know what I know, but like
Yeah.
no, it's not something that I've gotten into.
Got you. Well, if you can talk offline.
Yeah,
Tell you a
we
little
absolutely
about it.
do.
For sure, bro.
That's something that like culture needs to be. There needs to be more literacy on those types of things. Like
Yeah.
I always found those things interesting, but just never had like a. I don't know. I went to school for media though too. I guess it was kind of outside of my domain, but just I think it's important. Like I'm embarrassed that I don't know more about it, you know. And I think it's something that you do need to. I don't know if you're trying to if you're an entrepreneur, if you're trying to make money, if you're trying to start businesses, I definitely it's something I want to understand better.
For sure. All right, I got you. I connect you with have you heard of Stephen Den?
Have it what? Pardon?
Have you heard of Stephen Den? No, you haven't. So maybe I'll put you on a Stephen Den. Stephen Den is dope.
Is that an at?
No.
Is that someone's handle?
Yeah, someone's handle.
That sounds very familiar. I think I think I'm familiar
they're
with
a
it.
couple from Toronto, and they make great financial content. So I'll definitely put you on.
Yeah, put me on game.
Yeah, put you on game. But I don't think to be a financial expert at all. You know what I'm saying? So, but none of the sort. But I do invest in stocks a little bit. You know, I've made some money, but I'm no millionaire. I'm not gonna say that. But if you want to get started, I can at least plug you in a little bit.
Bet I would greatly appreciate
Most
that.
definitely, bro. But as we're wrapping up, bro, where do you see Relentless Diaries going?
Where do I see it going? I see it going up, but I also have apprehensions just about the podcast industry in Canada as I know it. And you know, like I kind of outlined in detailed, like I want to do things that make an impact. I want to do things that, you know, reaches people, and I want to do that at like the highest level or in the most major way as possible. So I don't know if that means, you know, maybe, you know, going to I feel like everybody that's successful that like is our hero that's Canadian or something like that at some point had to go to America, you know, to kind of make that land. I don't know if that's what we need to do, but when I think about podcasting in Canada and it's like how do you take that next step, like so there needs to be a Medici family or something that kind of puts us on like a I worked with Marlon at Before They Were Famous, and we would do a daily live stream. And I remember doing that. It felt like doing the news, you know. I would love the like in a perfect world or something like that, where I'm doing a broadcast or a podcast or something like that 3 to 4 times a week, and it's just like a regulatory thing, and we're on like a network or something like that, whether it's a radio type thing or a TV thing or a streaming thing. Like I would really want to do something in a major way like that, where we're part of somebody's day every day or a couple times a week, you know, rather than weekly. That's how I'd want to elevate things, like ESPN, baby. I don't know, something like that. You see things like with podcasting, like what guys like Cam and Mace are able to like transcend things. I also just think the culture needs more infrastructure, especially Toronto and Canada, which is why like when I think about elevating, I don't like the idea of like leaving Canada or having to endeavor in America or with like American partners or things like that, because I think we need what we do in Toronto specifically, in Canada specifically. There needs to be interview platforms. There needs to be talk media where we're discussing things, not only what's popping in America, like the, you know, interesting politics and rap battles, but we're discussing what's going on internally with us, you know, because I think there's a lot of, there's a, like you said, a parasocial relationship that we have with Americans and what they have going on. And I think that can kind of distract us sometimes from what we got going on. And yeah, I want to be a part of that. However that's gonna happen, because
Sure.
I'm curious. Somebody like needs to inject something with the podcast industry over here, because
Yeah, I think so too, bro. I think I have a plan over it, so I'm gonna talk to you offline.
okay, bet.
Off some of my ideas, but you can definitely continue to build it, bro.
How about you?
Where do I see the brand going?
Mm-hmm.
So first off, you know, we're with Media Studios, and I wanted to first off reach a certain number. I'm gonna build that out. I'm gonna do live events
Mm-hmm.
in a major way. I want to connect with brands, so there can be proper influx of industry for podcasts, as well as connected entertainers. I feel that people come into Toronto, they come in, do the show, and bounce. Where in New York, they do Budden, they do Hot 97, they do Power 105, they might do Hot Ones, or and then they leave.
There needs to be sort of like a press circuit here,
to be a
where
press
it's like you're hitting Extra Gravy, Relentless, 24/7 Hustler. You're hitting all these different, you see them in the same outfit because it's that one media day, and they hit all the stations. They do all the yeah, we don't have that here.
Exactly. So like we need to create that or facilitate that to make that happen.
That media infrastructure, it needs to be built. It needs to be facilitated. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's the fight I'm fighting.
exactly. So that's what I think needs to happen, and yeah, I think we can create that. I think we're at that influx level where we can create that and make that happen.
We don't have to go to America.
I don't think so. Who's popping without going to America? Alba and Preach.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Fuck yeah.
Alba and Preach are in Montreal, killing shit, stepping on Fresh and Fit's neck.
Air horn. Give me an air horn for that. Just having the soundboard and the gunshots and everything. Yeah, all that.
On Montreal. So big shout out to Alba and Preach, yo. So like, if they can do it, so can we. And I realize what you have to really embrace the internet, bro. That's the real difference. So yeah. I think that's the next steps.
I see the light. Yeah. There's enough of us.
Most definitely.
Let's get it popping.
With that being said, that wraps the podcast. That's what we can control. So control your grind. I control your life. I'm Alex.
I'm Clyde.
I should show y'all. Peace.